Hello guys, this is Ice from Ice Games, and on my YouTube channel we race. We play racing games of various kind, Forza Motorsport, Assetto Corsa, Forza Horizon of course, Project Cars, Car X Drift and so on. And in today's episode we'll be of course driving in this beautiful, astonishing, one of the best games today, Forza Horizon 5. And of course we'll be talking about drifting. What you need to be a good drifter is a lot of practice. You must practice, practice and practice. But without a good car, without a very stable car, it is quite difficult to drift even if you're a pro drifter. So today we'll be talking about building the right car to drift. And of course, only rear-wheel drive cars can be called the real drifters. Well, okay, you can drift in 4x4 cars, all-wheel drive cars, it's no problem. But rear-wheel drive cars are classic for drifting. So today we'll start on with rear-wheel drive car, and I will show you another build of all-wheel drive car. So you can choose any car you like and start practicing day by day to become a pro. So we'll start off with the rear-wheel drive car. To my mind, one of the best cars to start off with, something classic like BMW, Mercedes-Benz or maybe a Ford Mustang. So we'll start off with BMW. I love BMWs, I think they're pretty nifty, pretty fast and my god, pretty good looking cars. Let's choose something, I don't know, not very powerful but quite sexy. How about this M3 from 2005? Let's get in the car and start building a real drifting machine. So we need a rear wheel drive car for this build. We go to upgrades and tuning, custom upgrade and start building. Stock motor of this BMW M3 is not very powerful. It's only like 333 brake horsepower. So you can engine swap it to something like a V8, maybe 6.2 liter V8 or a 4 liter V8 or maybe a racing 3 liter straight 6. That's a 2JZ of course. Well, we go with the 4 liter V8. I like the rumble and mumble of those V8 engines. Let's give it a little boost with twin turbos and we'll have something like 500 horsepower. Of course, we leave the drivetrain alone. We have a rear-wheel drive car. Let's have a look at body kits. Okay, this looks real nice, you know, but we'll leave it stock. So now we go to tires and rims. For the tires, of course, you can choose a drift compound, and in Forza Horizon 5 there is a drift tire compound which is quite grippy and makes a lot of smoke, which is fun I think, so we'll choose a drift tire compound. For the tire width, for the front we go something in the middle, let's see, we'll go with 235 mils. And for the rear we go for the widest one, 305. For the rims you can choose whatever you like, I'll go with the stock. So now we go for the drivetrain and transmission. Of course we put the race clutch, and for the transmission you can choose whatever you like. but I usually choose the 8-speed race transmission. For the driveline, we put the race driveline, of course, and differential we choose drift diff. Now we go to platform and handling. Braking, of course we must put racing brakes, and the spring and dampers we buy the drift ones. For the anti-roll bars, we take the most expensive race anti-roll bars, and roll cage we must put in, of course, it makes the car more stable. And the weight reduction, you can choose to buy it or not. I will usually pick the maximum race weight reduction to make the car nimble and fast. And engine upgrade. At the beginning, we don't want to make the car overpowerful, because it is quite hard to control it then. Of course, after a lot of practice, you can go all the way up. But at the moment, we'll stick somewhere in between. We'll go with the intake upgrade all the way, the fuel system, of course, and the ignition all the way, the exhaust, of course, to make the car sound better. The camshaft, we put in the race cams, and the valve race as well. Displacement, we'll go with the stock engine block, and the pistons, race pistons as well. We leave the turbos, intercooler and oil cooling in the stock, but the flywheel will take the race one, which is very light. So we have something like 682 HP at the moment, and to start off, it's a pretty good number. Yes, we'll install this setup, we'll buy it, so the car is S1 at the moment, which is pretty good. So now we go to custom tuning. There are a lot of ways to make the car go sideways, and there are a lot of drifting tunes, but I'll show you mine. We start off with the tires. For the front, we go with 2.1 bar, and for the rear we make it higher, 2.8. This way the car will be slippier, and the rear tires will spin easily. For the gearing, I'll go all the way up, something like so. For the alignment, as we chose the drifting suspension, it is almost in the correct figures, but I tweak it just a little bit. For the rear, I'll go to -2 degrees for the camber. For the toe, I leave it in the zeros, and the front caster angle is 7 degrees. For the anti-roll bars, now we want the rear anti-roll bar be a little bit softer. I usually take off 5% of the figure. So we have 28.9 at the moment, and I'll go with something like 25. Yes, we'll leave it like so. For the springs and ride height, I usually make the ride height 2 clicks from the bottom figure, like so. And springs, rear springs, I make a little bit softer. I take off 50 to 60, like so. For the damping, I usually don't mess with it. Aero, we don't have any aero kit. For the braking, you can distribute slightly to the front if you want, maybe 60-65%, and apply more pressure, but I usually leave it as it is. For the differential, in acceleration we go all the way up to 100%, and for deceleration we go something in between 25 to 45. I usually stick somewhere in between, 30%. Now we apply the settings, okay, and let's take our car for a ride, and I should say for a drift. Look at it. Oh yeah, doesn't it look pretty? Okay, so we'll go to the nearest drifting zone. So as we approach the drifting zone, we can slow down. I'll put it in the third gear and now apply the handbrake, and we are off to the drifting zone. So we now distribute the weight by using our gamepad. Okay, so like so. You may use and apply a little bit of hand braking. Oh, too much hand braking, too much hand braking. Don't overdo it. I usually don't use hand braking. I like to weight distribute to flick the end of the car into the corner, and this way we'll have a nice and stable drift. Okay, let's drift another way. Come on, man, let me pass through. Okay, so now we'll drift up the hill. It'll be a little harder. The car is not over powerful, so you might need to change the gear to the low one. I'll stick with the third gear at the moment. Okay, it has enough power, I think, and we are drifting. It's a pretty nifty drift, I think. Pretty good, pretty good. Well, you know, guys, this M3 controls really nicely, and I like it a lot. So let's go to home and to my garage, and now we will try to build the 4x4 or all-wheel drive car. To build an all-wheel drive car, you can choose an all-wheel drive car. For example, Audi RS5, RS3 or RS6 is an all-wheel drive car from stock, or you can choose something else. I will try to build my car, my all-wheel drive car, out of hatchback. For example, Ford hatchback. Let's choose, for example, let's choose this Escort RS Turbo. We'll make it all-wheel drive car. So let's get in the car and go straight into upgrades and tuning. Custom upgrades, and let's have a look what engines are there to swap. There is 1.6 Turbo Rally or 2-liter turbo. I stick with the Turbo Rally one. And the drivetrain, of course, we choose all-wheel drive drivetrain. For the tires, once again we go with the drift compound tires, and for the rear we go for the maximum weight width, 222 mils here, and for the front we go somewhere in between. I'll go to 205. The rims, I'll stick with the stock ones. Okay, the drivetrain. Now we choose the 8-speed racing transmission. Driveline is of course a race driveline, and the differential is drift differential. Brakes, we go all the way up. Okay. We installed the drift spring and dampers. It's already got installed here. Of course, we installed the race front and rear anti-roll bars. We go with the race chassis reinforcement and roll cage. And a weight reduction. We go with the race weight reduction. And here we will put the maximum power and maximum boost, because it's an all-wheel drive car and we want a lot of power so that the car can spin all 4 tires. So we go all the way up in the engine and the turbo, of course, and the restriction plate, well, all the way up. So now we have something like 668 HP in the car that weighs less than 1 ton. I think this is really good. So Now for the tuning process. It will be almost identical to the rear wheel, so we go with the rear tire pressure higher up, something like 2.6, 2.7. For the gearing, we go all the way up in the final drive, something like so. For the alignment, rear 2.2. Everything else we keep it as it is. Anti-roll bar, rear anti-roll bar -5%, so I'll go something like 25, like so. For the springs, right height, we put it in the low and then 2 clicks up, 1, 2, something like so. Damping we keep it as it is, braking as it is, and for differential we lock the differential in acceleration and deceleration in the rear, and for the front we go with something like 75% in acceleration and about 25 in deceleration. As for the distribution, we go to something like 85-95% to the rear. We still need our front axle to be working so that it can pull us out of the corner. So we'll leave it in 85. Yes, we apply it like so. And let's go to another drifting course, longer drifting course. Maybe we can check it out. For example, let's have a look. Oh yes, we can go here. So let's check out this little Ford Escort Turbo RS, which is all-wheel drive right now. Okay, so we approach the drifting zone and put it into the fourth. Okay, it's quite fast and it has a lot of power for this little weight. Okay, yep. And you know, it drifts pretty good actually. Yeah, makes a lot of smoke. And I feel as my front axle is working and it pulls the car out of every corner, which makes it a little bit easier to control than a rear wheel drive car. Okay, so let's go a little bit stronger into the fourth, and yeah, I think it's a pretty good car actually. Maybe for another drift zone, let's have a look. Oh yeah, this one is pretty nice. Okay, let's try it out. And you know, it's kind of fun drifting in all-wheel drive car, because it can be much faster in corners, as we have both of our axles, front and rear, working at the same time and all four wheels spinning. So you can make sharper turns without being afraid that your car will spin out. Okay, yeah, it's good, it's good. You know, it's a pretty nice little car for drifting. And I prefer to make all-wheel drive drifting machines out of small hatchbacks, and I don't know, they drive really nicely actually. And for the rear-wheel drive cars, I usually take really big front engine heavy machines, such as BMWs, Mercs or Ford Mustangs. Maybe even Chevy Camaro would be a good drifting machine for the rear-wheel drive. So that's all for today, guys, and please write in the comments what you think, and do you want me keep on going and showing you how to make various drifting machines. So see you next time. This is Ice and Ice Games.